If you're a college football junkie like me, your brain is never tuned off on this sport. Yeah, the confetti fell less than 2 weeks ago in Houston when Michigan won the national title, but your sights are already set on 2024, and you're probably paying attention to the transfer portal rankings, seeing where veteran talent is residing and which programs are turning into contenders overnight. If you've been paying attention, you might have seen a switch at the number one spot because Ole Miss no longer is the portal king. Texas A&M is, and they're doing something special right now in College Station to where Mike Eklo's first season might be a promising one. So let's go ahead and talk about it. But if you were new here, well, welcome on into the channel, people. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. Look, the confetti might have fallen in Houston, but we're still going to be doing content 100%. Live shows coming up this week, a recap of 2023, a look ahead at 2024. So if you need college football content to survive, why don't you go ahead and smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on what Mike Eklo is cooking up in College Station. Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, your best of bros, A&M fans, and college football aficionados everywhere about this channel, because we are on the race to become the #1 YouTube show talking college football daily. Why don't you go ahead and give me a follow on social media? I call it Twitter, you call it X, we all call it Instagram, at Mr. Cole Thompson. That way, conversations surrounding our favorite sport never have to stop flowing. There's always a difference when you look at it from a local perspective and a national perspective regarding college football teams. And if you were to take a 30,000-foot view at Texas A&M from the national side, you would probably consider them the red-headed stepchild of the SEC. They're paying Jimbo Fisher $77 million guaranteed not to be the head coach there anymore. A bunch of the players that joined the team in the 2022 recruiting class, the #1 recruiting class of all time, are now playing elsewhere. Your athletic director, Ross Bjork, just took the job to replace Gene Smith in Columbus, Ohio with the Buckeyes. And you're a team that is also watching Texas join the conference on the heels of them winning a Big 12 title and also making it to the college football playoff. So the feeling around Texas A&M is pretty dark and barren from the national side of things. Mike Eklo didn't get the memo because all he's done so far is cook up a transfer portal class that would have most teams salivating over. And naturally, he had to do this because of what occurred with the mass exits of players via the transfer portal, whether that be proven commodities like Tyreek Chappelle or risers like Jake Johnson. You've lost a surplus of names that were going to fortify your roster and make you that much better. But that's the beauty of college football. When players leave, that opens up opportunities for you to add improved commodities. And naturally, A&M was always going to be, I think, a little bit limited on the recruiting side of things because of a brand new coach comes in and they have to sell their vision to kids who are very impersonable at this point. And so when a coach is able to go ahead and not land that much talent, they have to work the transfer portal in their favor. They've done a pretty damn good job. And I'm not talking about just with up-and-comers. I'm talking about with proven names. You added in guys like B.J. Mays from UAB and Scooby Williams, a linebacker from Florida, Trey Watson from Fresno State. And you also brought in other names such as Jaden Hill from Florida, Jabari Barber from Troy, Derek Green from Troy, and of course, you got guys like Cassius Howell from Bowling Green and Rodis Johnson from Wisconsin. But you also added in difference makers, full-fledged studs that are going to fortify your defense for the long haul, an area of weakness for a guy like Mike Eklo, who is a defensive whiz. You brought over Nick Scourton, the Big Ten leader in sacks last year from Purdue. You also, on Tuesday night, added in a legit bona fide stud with Dezz Ricks from Alabama, the outside cornerback. So not only are you adding in players that are going to be here for the short term, but you're adding in players for the long run. The way that I view Mike Eklo's situation right now is that he's doing everything in the power to keep expectations at an all-time high. When you are a place like Texas A&M and you have the fundings and the boosters and the backing and support of the fan base, expectations are a little bit grander even if you haven't accomplished most of your goals set back in 2012. They are expecting you to be a legit threat in the SEC this year. They are expecting you to be able to hold your own against the battle-proven, tested teams of college football. And they are expecting you to be in the running to at least be a top 3 team in the SEC rankings. Because if you're a top 3 in the SEC or the Big Ten, you might as well punch your ticket at the college football playoff. Things aren't changing in College Station because of you lost a ton of talent and your coach and your athletic director. They still believe that you are good enough to make it to the CFP. And they still believe that you're good enough to be a team that can win a national title. So how do you do that? Bring in proven commodities. A guy like Dericky Wright has experience playing in the SEC. He was a 3-year starter at Vanderbilt. That's a plug-and-play defensive back you want on your roster. A guy like Dezz is an emerging talent who will be a part of the backbone and the foundation led by Mike Eklo. Scourton fits that kind of middle tier where he's not going to be here for 1 year, but he certainly could be here for longer than 2. He could stick out his entire tenure and completely rewrite the A&M record books. And then you bring in veteran talent, guys like EJ Smith, the running back who at one point was committed to you before he went to Stanford. You're bringing in guys with proven commodities like a Jahade Barber from Troy, who was 2 yards shy of getting 1,000 yards this past season. Plug and play replacement in the slot, or you at least have competition in the slot. And now with the roster that was also added in with the coaches, you were able to bring in talent that already has experience playing in this conference at a very high-end level. Scooby Williams has a relationship with Jay Bateman, the new defensive coordinator, and the same thing goes for Jaden Hill at cornerback. They also have a relationship with Sean Spencer, who is the new defensive line coach, also from Florida. So the proof of concept is you come to College Station, you're going to have a shot to be able to get meaningful reps, and you're probably going to better your chances of getting to the NFL, the ultimate end goal for you. You want to make millions of dollars, not with NIL, but with NFL money. That's what you're looking for. And there's a chance that they can do that. Mike Eklo, I can tell you this much, is a guy that is a meat and potatoes type of personality. He means business. He expects and demands excellence from his players. And more importantly, he'll set the tone inside the locker room that carries over from everybody. The starting quarterback in Connor Wegman all the way down to the assistant ball boy will have that same mantra. It takes a special coach to win in Durham, North Carolina, especially with the roster that was a year removed from going 3-9. It's a very special coach to be able to do that. And that's what Texas A&M is bringing in. A very special coach, a coach that understands the foundations of the 12th man and the pageantry that resides in Kyle Field on Saturdays. And he's expecting everybody that comes in via the portal to set the tone. Now, make no mistake, this is not a way that you want to build your roster every season, because with the mass entrance of veteran talent via the portal, that means a mass exodus the next year. A lot of players will be finalizing their last year of college football before they hopefully find their way onto an NFL roster. But for year one, barely on the job, having to go ahead and convince as many recruits to stay a part of the program as possible, and you land 14 kids, you had to make moves in the portal. You had to bring in veteran talent, because nobody is going to be okay with a 7-5 finish after you just went 7-6 with the coach that you thought was going to give you a national championship. So much so, in 2017, you handed him a plaque that said National Champion 2000, insert year here. No one's going to be okay with that. So Elko's done the best job possible making sure this roster is fortified. Offensively, there's a ton of talent, a lot of returning talent, and hopefully more experienced talent with another year under their belt. From Connor Wegman to Amari Daniels to Ruben Owens to Jahade Walker to Noah Thomas to even young guns that you like at wide receiver and running back. I mean, there is a ton of upside and intrigue offensively. But defensively, you had some veterans. You also had some players leave. What do? You go ahead and add in difference makers. Scourton's going to be a plug-and-play stud on the outside. I would say the same thing about right and coverage. Probably you would have someone, whether that be maybe Dezz starting week 1, or maybe you turn to a guy like BJ Mays, or maybe you turn to a guy like Will Lee from Kansas State. All of them have starting experience in college football. And the transition may take a little bit of time where week 1 rolls around and you feel very sour after a loss to Notre Dame. But what happens when November comes around and you're sitting at 5-2, 6-2? You're bowl eligible. And there still is a shot if you run the table and defeat Texas in College Station, you go to Atlanta. And if you're not going to Atlanta, you're at least staying in the running for a college football playoff spot. I don't know if Texas A&M will be a legit contender in the SEC year 1. But Mike Eklo's not listening to the outside noise. He's not listening to those who say A&M will take a step back. He's taken 3 steps forward by making this roster more of a veteran feel with emerging talent that will be the baseline and foundation for his program in College Station. I like the Aggies. I think that they're a team that can be elite if they have the right pieces in place. But for this year, they're simply just putting together a roster that should at least make them competitive. And maybe even at the end of the day, a program that nobody wants to play on Saturdays, especially at the field. known as Kyle Field. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.